Happy Friday, Corporate Misfits. Welcome to episode 40 of the Corporate Misfit podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Darrington, founder of the Corporate Misfit Club and business strategist for female entrepreneurs. On today's Friday feature, we're chatting with Jessica Potts, who is an ex-Cube dweller turned nomadic entrepreneur. She's a speaker and business strategist, leading female service providers on how to identify their perfect customers, align with their services to market demand, and increase their online visibility to offer their services in a way that feels genuine and authentic. So if you are ready to do this, I am too. Let's go ahead and hear from Jessica on how she started her business and left her 9-to-5.
You're listening to the Corporate Misfit podcast with Brittany Darrington, where female entrepreneurs can get powerful tips and advice on how to start, launch, and grow their business.
Jessica, I am so excited to have you on the Corporate Misfit podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm excited to be here and to talk to you.
Well, you have such an interesting background. You have gone from the corporate world to starting your own business and being able to travel and do what it is you want from anywhere. Can you tell me how you left the 9-to-5 to start your own business, helping women to build their own business?
Absolutely. So it's interesting because I didn't actually leave on my own will. I was let go. And at the time, it was such a huge hit on my ego. And it took me a really long time to kind of figure things out. And I started looking for other jobs. And I had someone come to me and say, hey, listen, you have all of this great marketing background. And she's like, do you want to go in business with me? And at this point, I was like, yes, absolutely. Let's just launch. If it fails, it fails. It's not a big deal. And when I launched, I had a business partner. And so we ended up launching. And I remember that our first client was Orange Theory Fitness. They were brand new, and someone had brought 8 of them into our market. And so we got all 8 studios, like within launching our business within a month. And then it all went downhill after that. But, it was something that we didn't plan. We didn't have any sort of business plan. We just kind of winged it and went with these relationships that I had built over the years and started just telling people, hey, listen, I launched my business. And it took off immediately. And then over time, I ended up breaking up with my business partner. We didn't see eye to eye on niching down our market, and we ended up going separate ways. But the beginning was incredible and fun, massive roller coaster.
Oh, I love that, because what usually happens especially sometimes when you are let go or you're laid off or whatever it may be, what usually happens is we kind of go into this ball of maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe my skills aren't great. But you decided to go into starting a business, and you just decided to take a risk, which I believe entrepreneurship is a risk. And it's one of those things you have to do in order for you to be able to go into it. How did you find Orange Theory as a client? That is first of all, they're huge. So I know they were just getting started, but how did you find Orange Theory as a client? And how did you know how to present what it is that you were doing to them?
So at the time, they're a franchise. And so this franchisee had 8 of their locations. And we met her by going and working out and developing those relationships. And I just want to point out, I think that with where we are in society right now, we tend to not develop relationships throughout our career. And it's interesting because we are so focused on trying to get clients on social media and developing relationships that we really have all these people within our network, our community, that we can go out and network with. And it's so much easier to meet somebody face to face and start developing that relationship over time. So essentially we started developing that relationship, and she brought us in to do a presentation. And my background really was launching products for Fortune 100 companies. And so that presentation aspect of creating a marketing strategy for them, I was easily able to do. And then we were able to get a meeting and present that to them. And fingers crossed, we definitely didn't have a business plan. I call it the prayer method.
Love
we
it.
did we did a lot of prayer, and we landed that account, and then we just started landing other accounts after that. Really, I hate to say it, hustling. We were out just meeting people and going back to a lot of my corporate contacts and telling them, hey, I started a business. And it's amazing just by talking about what you do, how the universe meets you and you start having people in your life that needs your services.
Totally agree. And I want to take a step back and unpack the relationship building too, because one of the things that I have found, like you said, that human touch is not necessarily there in business like it used to be. So being able to look within your community and build a relationship is so important. And sometimes, like you said, we're focused on who can I get online? Who can I find through social media? Who can I find through the webinar? But sometimes we don't take time to just evaluate who do we have in our current community that is right in front of us that we can share our services with. How did you identify, like, okay, I'm going to go and connect with my community. I'm going to go connect with people that I might already have a relationship with, or that I can possibly build a face-to-face relationship with. How did you go about that? Because a lot of people are terrified of building relationships because they're afraid of what could possibly happen or the rejection. So how did you go about building relationships with businesses in your community?
Well, I want to take one step back before answering that and just tell you that after I left this business partner, I started following a lot of influencers online and going, oh, I need to build my email list. I need to have a strong social media following and, have these sales funnels in place. And I just got so wrapped up in doing all of that. And the relationship part was very difficult. Like in my world, it's very hard to have built that in a digital world. And so I started to find that my business started to plateau, and then it started to go down because I was solely relying on sitting behind my computer and just, hoping that I was going to have contact with the right person, or that I could run Facebook ads and build my email list and then convert those people in my email subscribers to paying clients. And unfortunately, it just didn't work like that. And so I got to this point in my business where it was a low point, and I was like, I just, I'm good at making conversation and talking to people, and I miss that face-to-face. And I think that right now we are craving human interaction more than any other time. And so I go onto different websites and find different networking groups. Now, you want to make sure that those networking groups have your ideal target customers in them, because you don't want to just go to any networking event because it'll just kind of be a waste of time over time. I hate to say that, but
it's so true. It's so true.
And I joined a mastermind community within, it's all women, and we meet during the day once a week, and we network and we talk to each other about who our ideal customers are. And the great thing about these networking events is that I always say, do not go in to sell, ever. And if you just show up with the intention of genuinely and authentically meeting people and talking to them and asking them about themselves, you start to build friendships. And it's kind of like this. If you were sitting at the bar and a guy walks up and he's like, hey, I just saw you across the bar, let's get married, you'd be like, you are crazy, right? And we think about relationship building like that. But, our customers also want to be wined and dined and get to know them and understand them before asking them for the sale. And it's just like when you go on a date. And that's how I think about networking. I go in there just with the intent of meeting new people. And I'll share this story with you. Years ago, I was at this networking event. There's like 200 people. And the gentleman says, okay, I want you to raise your hand if you're here to sell something. And 200 hands go up. And he goes, all right, put your hands down. Raise your hand if you're here to buy something. And I kid you not, one person raised their hand, right? And it made such a lasting impression on me that nobody, one, wants to be sold. It's kind of like that used car salesman, that how we do business is just authentically building relationships, understanding someone's challenges, their issues. And, and the other great thing is if you have a referral-based system in your business, you have now created a free marketing a person to market for your business that's going to go and tell other people who may need your businesses about you.
Absolutely. And that is what I think people forget. And I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because I have found that when you take time to get to know other people, you take time to know their needs, then I feel like you can actually provide more value, more service, more products, and things like that. But if you're going in there trying to automatically sell your products, your services, to me, you're not able to really identify if they're the right fit for you. You're not able to identify if this product or service is even a good fit for what they need. And it just creates this like effective, like not really making the relationship to actually grow your business. You're quick to get a sale, but that is not going to create longevity or a foundation in your business. Like I want my business to outlive me. And the only way to do that is to build proper relationships and set a strong foundation. And that's exactly what you're doing by going in and actually identifying, what do you need? How can I help you? What are some of your challenges that you're facing? Because anyone can sell, but can people build strong relationships? That's the real question.
And I love that because, you know, if you're putting together a proposal for someone and it's just some standard whatever, you're really probably not going to have a successful relationship with that person. And because chances of you meeting their needs and solving those issues, you don't have a full understanding, and it's going to be challenging for you.
And I love that you also talked about your business partner. Mm-hmm. So you guys decided to go separate ways. And the reason for that is because you guys were not eye to eye on who you wanted to niche down on. So how did you identify who you wanted to focus on? Because that is something that a lot of new entrepreneurs really struggle with. They go into business thinking that everyone and anyone is their client. So how did you kind of narrow down, I'm going to focus on this type of client or this type of business in order for me to really hone in on my skills and master what it is I'm doing? How did you figure that out?
So my business definitely has evolved from the time that I launched it until today. And my business does mirror where I was back in the day. And I solved the issue that I had. And now I help people that are very similar to me solve their problems. So, you know, when I'm working with a woman, when I'm working with a client, it's usually females, and they are either starting their business or they are 1 to 2 years in their business, and they're service providers, so consultants, strategists, or coaches. And my target customer definitely mirrors me, and I'm able to help them because I've been in their shoes before, and I don't want them to go through the same obstacles and pitfalls that I did, and I'm able to help them to get to a point in their business where they're profitable faster.
I love that because that's something I totally stand for. And I think that that is so important to be able to help that person who is in a similar situation that you once were in, so that you have been able to see the other side and you can share that with them. And I feel like you're able to relate more when you have those situations too. Now, mindset shift. You have to make a mindset shift to go from working in the corporate world to becoming an entrepreneur. So when you went from that transition, what was your mindset like, and what shifts did you have to make in order to prepare you for the world of entrepreneurship?
Oh my gosh, I love this question because it resonates with most of my clients. I'd say 99.9%, and most people leaving corporate America. So when we are young, like children, right, as women, our parents are like, good grades, go to a good college, get a stable job, and we're getting validation all the way through all of that, either from our parents, our teachers, our professors, to our managers, our bosses, and validation in a good and bad way. Oh, you're doing really great. It comes with salary increases or a new job title. Or if you're doing bad, they will let you know. Well, when you start your business, there is no one there validating. Am I making a good decision? Is this the trajectory of my business that I want to take? Am I making the right decision? There's a lot of fear around all of that. And a lot of that comes from not being able to validate ourselves because we're always looking for outside validation. And I see it all the time. And you can notice this because people will feel that stuck feeling like, oh, I'm stuck in my business. I'm not moving forward. And a lot of the time it's just because they're not making the decisions to propel their business forward because they're not getting validation and that self-confidence.
I love that you said the fear and validation, because You're right. So many of us are seeking validation. And when you go into the world of entrepreneurship, you don't have that. And if you are going to try to validate every decision, everything that you're looking to implement into your business, you are going to stay stuck in the not moving phase because you're waiting for everyone to line up with what you want. And one thing I have found about entrepreneurship is that if you're waiting for everyone to line up with you, you're going to be waiting all day. And you have to go ahead and take the risk and see if it works. If you fail, pick yourself back up and try it again and keep trying in order for you to get to where you want to go. Because waiting is never going to move you forward. It's always going to keep you stagnant. So you have to keep doing things in order to keep going. So I love that you mentioned that. Now, fear is something that a lot of women face. A lot of women are afraid of, if I start this business, what if it doesn't take off? Or if I start this business, what if no one wants to buy my products or services? Or what if people look at me like, what the heck am I doing? How did you overcome some of the fear that you may have faced when you decided to start your own business?
Oh my gosh, you just kind of hold fear's hand because it's always going to be there, right? So you have to change. First of all, I think that the first part is awareness, is understanding fear. And I always found that if I felt uncomfortable, that means I'm moving forward, that I'm doing something that is going to get me to that next stage. And when we move out of our comfort zone, it's always going to be surrounded with fear or being uncomfortable. And that's okay. I think fear comes in so many different forms, and you really have to be paying attention to your thought process and what's going on. And then sometimes it's all about talking yourself off the ledge.
I totally agree.
Because once you understand it, I have a fear, you may have this fear being visible or doing, I have a great example. I created a 5-day marketing challenge, right? And I'm like, this is going to walk you through really understanding who your customer is and laying out your whole marketing. And I spent weeks editing these videos as a freebie, and then I never marketed it. And what it came down to is there was a lot of fear around what people were going to say about it, fear about, someone judging me. But quite frankly, if that videos is helping 1 or 2 people, that is my goal, and you're never going to make everyone happy. People are always going to say something negative. And I've learned also that when I started my business, I heard some very harsh things, said to me about not starting a business. And that was their own fear that they're not dealing with. It has nothing to do with me.
I love this because this is something I say often, Jessica. I always say, you know what? Just because someone else has their fear or limitations for themselves doesn't mean I need to put that onto myself. And so that is so important to prepare yourself for. You're going to have some people who are in alignment with where you want to go and they're all for you and they're cheering you on. And you're going to have some people who have their own insecurities or they don't believe in themselves. So they project those insecurities onto you because they have not attempted or tried to do what it is that you're going into. And so that's okay. But if you can stay in alignment with yourself, that as long as you are your biggest cheerleader, as long as you believe in you, as long as you are going to push yourself through, no matter what, you can get to that next level. And you don't have to always have the full-on support from everyone else in order to get to where you want to go. Speaking of support, how do you handle support from family members? Did you receive it when you decided to start your own business from friends and family, or did you just kind of keep it on the lowdown and not tell anybody about starting a business and just went for it?
I made the mistake of telling people. And I tell my clients, if someone's negative to you, you don't have to share anything with them because you don't have to put yourself out there to listen to their opinion or their own fears. Like you said, I think you said it best with people project what's going on in their own life onto you. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My mother owned a company and she supported us. My father was a stay-at-home father. So I kind of had a different, especially being raised in the South, that is definitely different. But there was a lot of fear around how are you going to support yourself, having a weekly paycheck or monthly paycheck, so all of that came out on their part. I would say I had less support and more concern, but that has transitioned over the years. I don't feel like I need to prove anything to anyone, but besides myself. And so I think that thinking about that, if this is really your passion and you really want to do it, just go for it. And if it fails, I don't even like to say the word fails or failure. That's just a stepping stone to get you where you need to be. It's a learning block and you can move forward.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned don't look at it necessarily as a fail or failure, because one of the things that I have found in entrepreneurship is that you're going to learn. You're not going to wake up knowing how to run your business every single day. You're not going to know how to do marketing like a professional in one day. You have to get up and you have to take the first step. You have to start. And so each day is going to improve. Each day is going to get better. But if you don't start, you will never experience getting better or experience going to that next level. And so don't ever look at it as necessarily a failure. Look at it as, okay, I'm starting, I'm taking the first step, and I'm going to learn along the way. And as I learn to crawl, then eventually I'm going to walk, then I'll walk, then I'll run. And over time, you're going to be able to do this thing and master it, but it takes time. Anything takes time. So I love that you mentioned that, because it's true. Don't look at things as a failure. Look at it as a learning block, and you're just learning along the way in order to get to where you want to go.
I mean, if you are never meeting failure, something is seriously wrong. You are not taking enough risk if you're never hitting failure.
I totally agree. Now, mindset shift though, you had to obviously adjust your mind at how you look at a failure or how you look at a learning lesson. How did you adjust in order for you to look at things in that way? Because a lot of people, again, kind of have that mindset block where they're terrified to, experience failure or experience a lesson that might set them back or keep them stagnant for a little bit until they can get better. So how did you adjust your mindset for looking at things from that perspective?
That took a really long time of just understanding, one, what fear felt like. Because once I understood that fear for me feels like a tightness in my chest and anxiety, I was able to then be able to verbally talk myself out of that feeling and really understanding where those emotions were coming from. That takes a lot of time. There's no doubt about it. But just being able to recognize that and being able to change those thought processes. So anytime something negative would enter my mind, no one's going to buy from me, my prices are too high, I'm not good enough, any type of, imposter syndrome, it's recognizing it immediately and changing the thought process. And it took me a good probably 6, 7, 8 months. And listen, I still do it every single day. If a negative thought comes in my head, I just push it out. I'm like, not today, Satan, not today.
I love that. And it's so true. Like what you said, like every day is a new day. And you might have moments like I have been in entrepreneurship forever. And I still have moments where I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, we're going to raise our prices. Is this going to work? Or are people going to run away from our price raising and stuff like that? But like you said, you have to push those thoughts away and you have to take time to acknowledge it so that you can move past it. Now, imposter syndrome and raising your prices is something that a lot of women in particular struggle with. Not all women, so I want to make sure I'm clear on that, but a lot of women, I know from the women that I work with, really struggle with what if I raise my prices? What if they don't want to work with me? And not charging what they're worth. So how did you identify how to charge what you're worth and overcome any imposter syndrome, if you had any, during that time frame?
So what I learned though is that when I undercharged, I became resentful. I didn't have a good aligned relationship with my customer. I felt like my energy was blocked. It was very odd. So these are all things that I started to really understand. While I talk about confidently pricing your products all the time, and I talk about not doing friends and family discount. I talk about not discounting your products at all, really understanding, evaluating what your worth is. And I also think that putting a price tag on a service based on product is more challenging, because we have to evaluate what is the in value that our client receives from our services. And there's so many different ways that you can actually go out there and look and do market research and understand where you should fall based upon the value that you give with competitor value. But it's also owning that, and not discounting your prices and feeling very confident in where you price yourself. You can always have discount shoppers and use that discount pricing for yourself if that's where you're aligned, or you can price yourself at the top of the market, show up confidently, and people are going to come to you and pay those prices.
I love it, because back to this whole thing, it's all a mindset shift that you have to make, and you have to make sure that you feel like you're in alignment with where it is that you're pricing yourself or your services or your products. And ultimately, if you feel like this is the right path for me, this is where I want to go, well, then you're going to show up confidently. You're going to show up and feel like, I'm giving you value. I know what my worth is. I know what I'm doing. And in order for me to do that, it costs this amount. You show up confidently. So I love that, because again, when you have that mindset of like, this is what I believe that I am worth, this is what I'm going to charge, and I'm going to do it with confidence, it's very different. And you started resenting, you said, you started to resent when you were charging a lower price or discounting your services. You started having that resentment. Why was that?
They're not my ideal target customer. I took them probably based on, paying the mortgage or fear, right, of not making enough money, needing clients, all these other things that go into it. And I took them on. It wasn't a relationship that one trusted me. They were always trying to nickel and dime. And that's not the type of business that I launched. And, over time, when you take on clients based on those fears, then you will recognize and understand that your energy is just not there. You don't feel compelled. You don't want, like I always say, like when I have a new client, I always want their success just as much as they do. But if I don't feel that way, I should not be taking on a client.
I love this, because it is so true. I have found that sometimes when I do things at a lower price, or if I sometimes have people who are not as invested in themselves, then you don't get the results. And one of my whole things of anything that I do, I want to help someone get the results and help them reach that, go from point A to point Z, if that's what it is that they're looking to do. And so if they are not invested, or if they are looking at this as, oh, it's cheap, so I don't really care, I'm not going to take time to invest in myself or take time to actually use the product or the service, you're right. That's not your ideal customer, because at the end of the day, those are your nightmare customers. Mm-hmm. They're the ones who complain over everything. They're the ones who get frustrated if you make a change that's best for your community or for your business. And they're the ones who are always going to drive you crazy. They're the customer service problems, and being able to find the right people and being able to charge what it's worth and also work with your ideal customers, that's what ultimately lights you up inside. That's what's going to get you excited about what you do each and every day, versus working with people who are like, this is crazy. And Jessica, you're the boss. Like I always say, you are the boss. And that's a really cool part about being having your own business and running your own thing, because you get to decide who you work with. And you can also decide if you don't want to work with someone because they might not be the best fit for your business, for your products, or your services. So I love that.
You hit it so much on the head, because I talk about this. I'm like, it's okay to repel people. You want people that, you want to repel people that doesn't want to do the work, that constantly complains, that doesn't trust you, because you're absolutely right. They're going to be leaving you bad reviews. They're going to be asking for refunds. And honestly, let's just bypass all of that, because the deeper problem probably is that you have a fear of not making enough money. So, so it's deeper than that. But yes, it's okay to repel people. Quite frankly, if you start getting negative reviews, I say you've made it. Like, I look at that as a positive.
I agree. When someone's like, I'm not happy with this, you're like, okay, that's good, because I have some people who are extremely happy with my services. And there's some people who don't like my style. They don't like my products or my services, and that's okay. But if you're buying and you tested it out and tried it, hey, I think I did something right.
Yes. I mean, if you have haters, you've made it. So
Exactly. I think haters are always better than not having any haters at all. Now, Jessica, you work from anywhere. You get to, go and travel and work if you choose, work from home, work from coffee shops, work from other countries and cities and things like that. How did you get to that place? How did you decide to build your business to where you can work from anywhere?
I think that resonates with a lot of business owners that we initially start these businesses with the idea of freedom and flexibility. And then what normally happens is that our business becomes this ball and chain around our ankle. And I've been there where I started really focusing on let's create these sales funnels and do this and that. And it was very time consuming. And so now I only do things in my company that really bring me joy, which is if I need to outsource something, I'll outsource it. But it is focusing in on what's actually bringing in clients to my business. And that's really where I focus my attention these days. And I know everybody's like, well, I don't, how many times do you post on Instagram? I'm like once a week. I mean, because I found that Instagram wasn't a good lead generation for me. And so I do neglect it at times because it didn't bring me a lot of joy sitting around creating a bunch of content. Now, I'm not saying that that is the right way for everyone, but it's okay for me to be that way in my business. But I have my partner is an international pilot, and so I'm able to travel with him and go and do fun things. And we're able to go all over the world. And we went to Vietnam recently, and it was crazy because I was in a car on Wi-Fi while we were going between destinations. Yeah, because they have Wi-Fi through the entire country, and it was cheaper than wiring for Wi-Fi. And so it's literally like all through the country, it, is everywhere. And I was just thinking to myself, like, how unbelievably incredible is this, where you can jump on an airplane, you can do this and you can do that. And I think that if your goal really is to travel and have that flexibility and freedom, the best way to do that is to own your own business.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you are able to design the life that works best for you. And you focus on the things that ultimately are going to move your business forward versus focusing on the things that don't. Speaking of Instagram, speaking of social media, that sometimes is a major roadblock in entrepreneurship for people. They're so caught up, especially within the last, I would say about 10 years or so. A lot of people think, okay, I have to have all these people following me. Things have to look great. But I am a big believer that your followers and the revenue that comes into your business don't always match. Like I have made my business to a 6-figure business before I had a ton of people following me on Instagram or Facebook or things like that. And so how do people overcome that again, mindset of, okay, everything has to be perfect. I have to be posting 1 million times a day. I have to get myself out there all through social media versus focusing on the things that really build and grow their business and move it further along. How can people kind of overcome some of the beliefs, I think, when it comes to social media?
And you are so right. There are so many influencers out there saying you have to build this email list, you have to have all these followers, you need to be putting a sales funnel within your Instagram. But I say, do what feels authentic. If you don't feel good doing live videos, don't do live videos, because what's going to happen is you're going to force yourself to do a couple. You don't come across as authentic and genuine. You look stressed, you look unhappy, and that's not the image you want to give. Yeah. So I say, figure out your marketing strategy that you can show up, you give value, you are authentic, you're genuine, and you offer people a way to work with you. So it's not even really a sale, putting yourself out there, being visible, and also look at your Google Analytics. Where's traffic being driven to your website? Now, like for me, I use Pinterest. It's my number 1 organic traffic driver. And then Facebook is number 2. So those are where I really concentrate. But think about it, instead of, oh my gosh, I got to create all this content, blah, blah, blah. It's like, how can I show up, be authentic, genuine, and offer people a way to work with me?
I love it. And by the way, Pinterest is my best friend. I feel like when it comes to marketing, I love it. And I love Facebook too. So I'm happy. Because, yeah, those things are like important. Identify where your source is coming from. And you can do that through Google Analytics. You can do that through pulling analytics on your website, all that good stuff, but figuring out where your stuff is coming from, and then focus heavily on your energy being in that place versus trying to show up because everyone is telling you to show up on all these different platforms. You have to do what makes you happy, or you're going to build that corporate prison. I call it corporate cubicle prison again. and not just in like what you had in the corporate world, what you might not have liked, you're now putting that into your business. And that is a disaster and never sets you up for happiness. So I love that. That's so true.
And then what you find is that you're spending hours upon hours creating all this content. And then 9 times out of 10, that content's not converting to an actual sale.
Mm-hmm.
Not worth it. That's all I'm going to say. It's not worth it. But I'm not saying that Instagram isn't a great platform. I know, like, I have friends who sell retail products that do phenomenal on Instagram. So really understanding where your customer base is and where you're going to be able to build relationships.
I totally agree. Now, Jessica, what advice would you give to someone who's looking to start their own business? They're still working their 9 to 5, but they are looking to start their own business. And what advice would you give to them?
Before you do anything, really think about the vision of where you want to take your business. Understand, look at it from the end game. Do you see yourself talking on stages? Do you see yourself as a New York Times bestseller? Whatever that end game is, work backwards on your vision. Because what happens is that when you become aligned with your future and where you're going, now believe me, you're probably going to have some detours, but that's okay. And then what also happens is that you understand who aligns with you customer base, and then also what products that you can offer. And so working backwards and really understanding that long-term vision is the key. And I wish I would have done that, because I think that my business would have probably taken a bit of a more pivot at the very beginning, because I did have some times where it was, oh my gosh, we got to get some clarity around here, and refocusing. So that would be my advice to anyone who is ready to launch a business.
I love that, because alignment is a huge part of entrepreneurship, part of business. And when you're not in alignment with where you want to go, when you're not in alignment with what it is you want for your life and whatnot, you'll do anything and everything. And so when you take that time to have clarity, have focus, and really make sure, is this in alignment with where we're looking to go? Is this in alignment for what I visualize for my life and for my business? And if it is not, like you said, take some time, take a step back, reevaluate it, because it can save you a lot of headache. It can save you from saying yes to certain things that don't go well with your business, and ultimately can help you get to where you want to go a lot faster if you can get into alignment with where it is you're going. And so I have found, and I'm like you, when I first started my business, I thought, okay, make money, let's hurry up, let's try to get clients. And I found that I was in an alignment with what I was doing, and I was miserable. I was so miserable. And it wasn't until I had to take time to get that clarity, that focus, just like what you said, and really identify, is this what I want? Is this what I visualize for my life? And if the answer is no, you need to make a change ASAP, so you can get into alignment and you can have that success that you're seeking within your business. So I love this.
100% agree. And I wrote my vision down, and I did it, probably a year within my business. And it's crazy how things start falling in place for you. You're less likely to start chasing those shiny objects that derail you from your ultimate goal, which we've probably all been there. And it's, I look at this, my goal, every single day, because it's important that I stay focused. And otherwise, like you said, you are chasing clients that just, in hustling constantly, and you're not attracting good people to your business that want to do business with you, that can afford you, and need your help.
Yep. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So if you have a good vibe and your vibe is looking great and you feel good and you want confidence, you feel confident and you know what you're doing and you know where you're going, you're going to attract people who also want that too. But if your vibe is not right, you're not going to attract that right tribe. So I totally think that alignment is such a powerful word for us in the world of entrepreneurship, because we have to be in alignment.
I love that. What is it? Your vibe attracts your tribe?
Mm-hmm. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
My gosh, I'm writing that down. I love that.
Yes. Now, what is your favorite part about being an entrepreneur? There are so many great things happening for you in your business. What is one of your favorite things, though, about what you do?
I get to interact with some of the most amazing, wonderful women ever. And, even if it's networking or our clients, and I get to be a part of their journey and help them. And there's something really incredible about that. I'm also able to give back to my community. Actually, I shouldn't say give back, but I'm able to invest my time and money back into my community, which feels really, really good. So there's a lot of great aspects. I mean, listen, I also get to travel the world and also make my own financial freedom. I don't have to be dependent on that next pay raise or what someone else values me at.
Oh, I love this. And I have enjoyed our conversation today. I want to thank you for taking the time to share with our Corporate Misfit podcast listeners and sharing how you left your 9 to 5 to start your own business, doing what it is that you love and a life that you have designed. So thank you again for taking the time to join us today.
Oh, Brittany, I love this. Thank you so much. And this is one of the most, I love talking about mindset. It makes me feel really good that I wasn't the only crazy one when I started my business.
If I could show people behind the scenes of all of my beginning stages, I think people would be like, oh my gosh, is this something that I want to sign up for? Because when you are like starting your business, we don't necessarily show the ups and the downs. We always show the pretty side. And I like always tell people, I'm like, if you could be a fly on the wall back in 2007 and 2008 when things were looking crazy, you might even reconsider going into the world of entrepreneurship.
I love that. That's so true. I think that we do try to like put like lipstick on a pig at the beginning, just so that we don't have to connect with those failures. It's like, hey, let's just make this pretty and keep moving on, because otherwise, if I really took it in too much, I probably would have gave up. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
How can we stay connected with you?
So, I have a YouTube channel that I would love for you guys to check out. And if you feel compelled, subscribe to. And I dish out weekly, the Wednesday wrap up, and we talk about customers, products, and mindset. So those three major aspects of building your business. And I'm also offering, a 45-minute session if you feel stuck in your business and you want to talk about your customer or product strategy. It could also be mindset. I mean, 90% of it probably does tie into that mindset. I'm offering your listeners 45 minutes. It'll probably be 45 minutes to an hour just to talk about it and see if we're in alignment, if you're definitely looking for a strategist to work with.
I love it. And I will make sure to include all this information in the show notes. And thank you again for your time. And I am so grateful to have your words of wisdom. So thank you again.
Oh, thank you. And I'm grateful for being here this morning. Thanks for having me.
If you've enjoyed today's episode of the Corporate Misfit podcast, we invite you to check out the Corporate Misfit Club. The Corporate Misfit Club is the essential resource for female entrepreneurs who are looking to start or grow a business they actually love. Whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur in your startup phase or simply thinking about taking the leap into entrepreneurship, we've got your back, girl. With our extensive course library, monthly training, exclusive members-only discount perks, and unlimited tools. We also have a supportive community of women where our members share stories, experiences, their wins, and business tips. The Corporate Misfit Club is the perfect place to be to start, launch, or grow a business. So check it out at corporatemisfitclub.com.